Well, David, what did you think about today's announcement, and do you think the Palaszczuk government has gone far enough when it comes to providing stimulus and aid to beleaguered small businesses?
And they are beleaguered, Peter. It's a start. It's a little later than we'd hoped, and if nothing else jolts you into action, try seeing queues of jobless snaking around the corner at every major Centrelink around the state. And I'm not suggesting for one moment a single state rescue package could be the panacea for those ills, but we could have kept a few of those people out of that queue by being a little earlier. But I'm not going to just sit here and criticise everything about it. This is not the time for that. So I'm going to talk about some of the good elements as well as some of the things that I think could be built on. And one of the good elements is there's money in there to train. And it's not just rubbish training, it's training when it comes to real skills for people to retrain for those jobs that we need at the moment. And we are seeing that there are some industries in this crisis that do have a skill shortage. So let's get people into those jobs quickly. Now, I also think we could build on that. Now, that's a $500 million fund, so we're not talking about chicken feed. I'd like to see us build on that so that if somebody is at home, they're unemployed, let's get them training online in the safety of their own home. Let's get them to upskill. Let's get them to feel like there's a sense of purpose, and let's get them to be part of a bigger something, and that is a Queensland that can bounce back from this in the months ahead.
David, I know you've been very critical privately of the way in which the Palaszczuk government has, in some respects, responded to this crisis, and you've used the example of Victoria, who up until a couple of days ago hadn't done much at all, but they've certainly come to the party with a multi-billion-dollar and four-pronged sort of plan. And of course we've seen in New South Wales that $2.7 billion plan that was announced about this time last week. Do you think it is a fact that in Queensland, because Queensland has a $90 billion debt and is essentially, you know, in major trouble when it comes to its budget, that we don't have the economic firepower here in Queensland to ramp up proper funding measures for those who are in trouble?
That's certainly part of it, Peter. We managed to go broke in a boom, but now is not the time for criticising past decisions. Now is the time for looking at opportunities to fix what is a crisis and one that we have to rise up to the challenge. Now, yeah, we do have a big debt, but right now the priority is to try and get people in work. And that's why I wanted to see genuine relief for business in this package. And one of the elements that I look at and I say, here's something you could have built on, was they're giving back 2 months of payroll tax to business. Now that might seem like a big lick of money, but I spoke to a mate of mine who's in hospitality. Everything has stopped for him overnight. What does giving him 2 months of payroll tax mean? That means that he can pay his rent for the next 6 days. 6 days. Now, that's not going to get him through the crisis. Now, I'm never going to suggest that we're going to be perfect with our decisions, but unless everybody's got skin in the game and unless we take a whole approach to this where people can effectively go into a holding pattern, there'll be more pain. So what do I mean by that? Well, I mean that the landlord's going to need to take a little bit of a haircut, the bank's going to need to take a little bit of a haircut, all levels of government do. So we need to genuinely freeze charges. So you can't just say, I'm going to defer your payroll tax for 6 months down the track, because in 6 months down the track, there's more pain than what we have now in a business sense. So everyone's got to come in on the ride on this. We have to bunker down. And if we do, and if people can get through it, at the end of it all, I can promise people there is a golden era of economic opportunity. It's just so much pain in the interim, and we've all got to get through it.
David, before we go to a break, just a quick anecdote here from you on an 80-year-old constituent who was heading off on a break in May. Just this is the meat and potatoes of the sorts of stories that can happen right now. Tell us about it.
Well, Gleeso, it shows that right across the community we have a problem in not getting the messaging across about how bad this is going to be. And you mentioned in your introduction those young kids who think, hey, I'm immune to this, so I can do what I like. I had a constituent today in his 80s who was upset that he wasn't going to be able to go from the Gold Coast to northern New South Wales for a holiday in May. Now, look, if nothing rings further true than the fact that some people are oblivious to how bad this is going to be, that was the example for me. Let me tell you, in May, you're not going to be going on any holidays. You're going to be bunkered down. You're going to have to be prepared for it. We're going to be in for a horrible time where good, decent people will be very ill and will die. And those decisions are being made today. The mistakes you make today by going out, by just taking that chance, could cost someone their life. Please, please heed the warning, because this is going to be very bad. But if we do the right thing, we'll get out of it with less lives lost than otherwise would happen, sure, and an economic strategy to get through this on the other side.
David Crisafulli, thank you for joining us tonight.